atomic gigantification was a sweeping Japan nation when along came a dude with an ultra attitude, a Kamen Rider who's the greatest kicker of Japan. And of all, man, life's too short now, baby, to not talk big now, baby.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Kaiju Conversation. I'm your host, Elijah, and joining me, as always, my lovely co-host and editor.
Hello, I am Rex.
And it feels like it's been forever since we've done this, even though it hasn't. I don't know. I feel like we haven't recorded in a while, but I think that's just because
Did we record last week?
Yeah, well, did we? Yes. Wait.
Yes,
we did.
Yes. We re-recorded episode 100 last week.
The whole episode 100.
For the second time.
Yeah. The whole episode 100 thing has just thrown me through a loop. Boy. But it's done now.
It's given me a few headaches.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's finally done and over as of like an hour ago or so.
Yeah, we're done. It's over. We must forgive. But will we?
2 uploads later. 3 uploads, I think.
3 uploads? Yeah, 3 uploads later, 3 recordings later.
Entirely scrapped recording.
Oh my god.
Maybe when it gets released later, maybe, who knows? I don't care.
Needless to say, it's been a wild couple of weeks here at Kaiju Conversation.
Yeah.
So with that being said, Rex, how have you been?
Well, I'm doing pretty good for the most part. I had a pretty solid day today. The only problem is I've been a little bit busy since I'm finally back working. Don't know if I mentioned that the last time. A few times. Well, thank you for the welcome. I don't know if I missed it.
Yeah, I kind of wish I could be in your situation, to be honest.
I mean, yeah, I have less hours than you.
Way less.
Yeah, that is very true. Man. So in that regard, I'm happy.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it does kind of... sometimes I wish I had more time in a day, so I could work on things. I have assignments due. It's kind of been a struggle to keep up recently.
I can imagine. How's school going?
Pretty good. It's just the only issue is it is literally being a struggle to keep up. Because the thing is, I miss all the in-person lectures because I work the 2 days that they're on.
Oh no.
So I have to watch them online, which is, on the one hand, that makes it easier. On the other hand, it makes it harder because it's like, on the one hand, I can put it at 2 times speed. The other hand, 2 times speed, you don't get the information as much because it's processing too fast. And it's like, I think it's easier for me to sit down and process information when I'm sitting there in person because I'm actually forcing myself to be there, and forcing myself to engage with just that.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas an online lecture, it's like, yeah, I can get through it faster. Yeah, I can still get through the content and understand it, but it's like, I don't know, it's like, I just don't think I'm quite engaging with it as much through online lectures,
I remember whenever I had to do remote learning during COVID, it sucked. My grades dropped because I just could not. I couldn't make it to certain Zoom calls. I couldn't get engaged enough. I couldn't do it.
I don't remember that too well. I mean, the thing with that was we were kind of on and off with remote learning. It's like we would be out of school for at most a month at a time. It's like it would come in waves. It's like
COVID.
Yeah, that's very true.
It's almost like when the waves of COVID happened, that's when you had to go remote.
No, can't be.
Shocking.
Nah, but it was, so we'd be out of school for 2-3 weeks. We'd come back for a while, and then whenever there was a big wave and someone in the school got infected or something, then we'd be gone for like a week or two and then come back. And it would come back and that would kind of cycle through every like, 7 or so months, something like that. I don't remember, for about a year or two.
Yeah, see, for me, it was like, so one of my classes I had to be in person for. So in the mornings, I would have to wake up early because of transportation, because they weren't running buses. I'd have to wake up early, go to another city, sit there and like figure out what to do for like 3 hours. And then I would have to drive back to school, do school for 3 hours, get picked up, go back 30 more minutes, and then do schoolwork or go to work. And
that sounds horrible.
Yeah, so I had to juggle my real life job, my in-person learning, and my online learning all at the same time while traveling 3 hours a day. It was pretty bad. Like, honestly, it sucked. So I did not do it well.
I feel like I kind of lucked out with my COVID education because it came at a time where, like, for me, it didn't really matter that much.
Oh, this was like second year high school, like all of the important classes. It was bad.
I mean, bear in mind, for me, it's like only year of high school that actually really mattered was like...
Oh, it wasn't second year.
It was like the very last year. That was the only one that mattered.
It was, so here in America, I was wrong, it was not the second one. Here in America, the like pivotal year in your high school career is your junior year, which is 11th, because that's when you do like your state and federal required classes. So that's when you do your US government stuff. Like you have to pass the naturalization test, like the test that immigrants have to take to like live in America. All high schoolers have to take.
I remember that we were kind of told that year 11 is where, okay, everything before year 11 didn't really matter that much. This is where this is where it actually matters, because it'll contribute to your ATAR, which is like a score that is used for like to get into universities and stuff like that. But then like a year later in year 12, they're like, actually, we lied. It's really only year 12 that matters.
Yeah, so here it's like a known thing that it's like senior year, 12th, year 12. That's like your screw around year.
I think year 11 does actually still matter for your certificate of education, I think. But in terms of like the uni grades, like your ATAR or whatever system in whatever state, it's like just year 12 matters.
Yeah. So here it was year 12 or senior year. Doesn't really matter. That's when you're supposed to kind of be relaxing. If you did your high school career correctly, you kind of coast through senior year just fine. Like I passed all of my classes senior year.
Oh, I didn't care very much, but I mean, I never failed a class. So.
But sophomore year, that's when you take your basic ones, and then junior year, so year 11, sophomore is year 10. Junior year is where it's like you take all the stuff that like you have to pass with. So it was awful because that was the year that COVID hit for me.
Ouch.
Yeah. So I had to do the 3-hour travel on top of the in-person schooling.
From what I understand, from what I remember, your American system is also different with like your passing grades. Like your guys is just more strict, I think. It's like you guys need like a higher grade to pass.
Something like that. I don't know.
Like 70% or something?
70%'s a C. You can, so 60% is where you go from passing to failing.
Here it's like 45%.
But if you pass...
You don't even have to get 50 to pass here.
Oh, God. Huh. Maybe it is... Well, I think American schools are also a little more lenient on what's considered passing. But I digress. Anyway.
I don't know.
The point is, it sucked, and I didn't like it.
Yeah.
0 out of 10. Wouldn't recommend. I hated it.
Yeah.
Easily the worst point in my life.
On Kaiju Conversation, the audience learns that COVID is bad.
Oh, that's funny.
So I love how we're giving earth-shattering opinions.
I know. Such unheard of, hitherto or unknown to this very planet.
The bit's going on too long, bro. You ruined it.
Thank you.
But I don't think I've asked how you have been.
I've been busy. I feel like I say that every time now.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
You say now, as if it wasn't always.
Yeah, that's true. Most of it's been working, obviously. And then, outside of that, I can't say much. Can't say anything really besides I had a film shoot yesterday. I did something.
What is up with the Vasquez?
See, you're the only one that will know what that is, because you're the only person who saw that. That's about as much as I can send.
I will say, it is kind of funny that you and I have basically been filming stuff around the same time.
Now, see, I'm done. I just had that one little bit of shooting.
I'm done too.
Oh, sweet.
I had to shoot 2 little bits.
Oh.
I shot one today at someone's apartment, and yesterday I shot some stuff at a bar.
Nice. Yeah, I shot in my basement. Yeah, but outside of that, I'm trying to think. I started reading a book.
Oh my god, you read?
I know. I'm trying to remember. I don't read a lot. I really don't. Outside of like articles, like I just don't read. But I started reading a book. It's called Fantastic Creatures of the Mountains and Seas. Do you know what that book is?
What is that? The yokai book?
No. So that is a Chinese book. That is the first. So if you go back and you look at like the original Chinese text, it uses a term that when you translate to Japanese, that term would be the origin for the term kaiju. So Mountains and Seas is the first book to have kaiju in it. So I bought it because I was curious to see what that.
Oh, right. Yep. Sorry, I remember you mentioning the book, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I saw another friend of mine got like this book about yokai. And this is someone who I would not have expected to get a book of yokai. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool. That seems like the book that you got, and Elijah got. That's funny.
I don't know if it's the one. I know there's a new yokai book out that I want to get, but I don't know if that's the one. But
I don't know. I wouldn't know.
But yeah, no. So I've been reading that. It's been interesting, and I learned something. So an interesting thing about Chinese monsters and gods and whatnot. So the way they got their names was because that's the sound they made traditionally. That's how they got their names, was they would say that and they would be named that. Now, what's interesting is I know that idea in a modern context with Pokemon. So I'm starting to wonder, maybe that was partially the influence for why in Pokemon, every Pokemon literally says the name of their character.
Yeah.
Pikachu literally says Pikachu. That's right. What that character says, and that's the name. So that's kind of interesting, kind of that stuff. And then of course Pokemon's inspired by Ultra 7 and whatnot. Right. So it's really interesting to see all that kind of sort of thing. And I've read the mountain section. So the way that it's split up is it covers the mountains and seas of the regions. And it talks about what creatures are on each mountain. So I've read about the northern, the eastern, the southern, the western mountains. And now I'm going to the sea section, which is about the halfway point of the book. And I hope to finish it up maybe by the next recording. I'm hoping that it's done. And so I can say that I've read that, and then I'm going to jump back into the Kojeki, which is the oldest known Japanese text. I bought that, so I'm going to read that. That's got the tale of Orochi in it. So yeah, that's I'm starting to dabble in reading.
Nice.
Outside of that, I know
it's probably a good good for research and just general cultural understanding of a lot of the films we're someday going to cover. So
Yeah. It's funny because I actually started reading the Kojeki because I'm working on a project I can't talk about. And I had to go back to that to pull from it. And so I was like, if I'm pulling from these two sections, I should just get the book and read the book. It's not very long. And so, I mean, it's the story, it's the origins of Japan based off of, I think, Shintoism, because it talks about kamis and whatnot, which, the kamis are the gods, and there's kami for everything, which is Shinto belief, and the kami created Japan and whatnot, and there's kami in everything. And so I think what I might end up doing is once I finish this, I might just dive into Shintoism, because I think that's something that would be educational to learn about Japanese culture and whatnot, because between Shintoism and Buddhism, that's 90% of the religious activity in Japan. So I'm kind of thinking about doing that, and then doing some just general research and whatnot of the history of Japan. I don't know. That's kind of starting to pique my interest, just kind of learning more about Japan in general.
Yeah.
But I've also been watching some movies.
Oh, have you watched any Tokusatsu?
No kaiju, no Tokusatsu.
Oh.
So allow me to get mine out of the way, and then I think we'll be able to transition pretty easily with the last title I've got here that I've seen. Now, as we've talked about previously, I'm on a Zatoichi bender.
So I've heard.
So I don't remember where I was off last time, so I just kind of wrote down the ones that I know I've watched in the last week and a half, which is about the same amount as when we talked about them last time. So that includes Zatoichi's Vengeance, Zatoichi's Revenge, Zatoichi and the Doomed Man, Zatoichi and the Chess Expert, Zatoichi's Pilgrimage, and Zatoichi's Cane Sword. So that is movie 8 through 15. So I've seen 7 more Zatoichi movies, or 6. I've seen 6.
Yeah.
And then I still have 16 through 26. So I have 10. Yeah, I have 10 left.
Yeah.
So hopefully by the time we talk next, maybe I'm down to like 3. It'd be awesome if I was done. I actually just bought the 26th one. That's on its way to me now. So like whenever I finish the Criterion set, I can just go right into the 26th film, watch it, and call it good. So I watched those. I'm enjoying the Zatoichi series, but it is starting to get a little too repetitive. And they're starting to kind of drop from good to okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
And then I finally made it to the theaters, and I got to watch...
Oh, no.
I got to watch the newest Alien movie, Alien Romulus.
Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy.
Which I believe you have watched as well. So if you want to talk about your Kaiju and Tokusatsu, we can talk about that and then maybe do a little bit on Romulus and then call it good.
Let's talk about Romulus first, actually, since we're already on the topic.
Okay. I didn't like it.
I went in knowing very little other than what I'd seen from the teaser trailer and a couple images I'd seen on Twitter. And,
spoilers.
A few little rumblings.
We're going to talk spoilers, by the way.
Hated it. I saw it early and I hated it. Ugh.
Yeah, it literally missed every single mark that I think it could have missed.
It just actively, at a certain point, I was just getting actively annoyed. Like I genuinely almost shouted in the theater just to. You don't like me swearing, and you always want me to censor. Me. Whatever. I hate self-censoring. But I'm sure the listeners can get what I'm getting at here.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty bad.
And I wanted to say that at multiple points.
Okay. So we are going to talk spoilers. Like I would, it's if you're
obvious one out of the way. I hated the Ian Holm AI thing.
Yes, that looked awful. It looked uncanny.
Awful. That was the first moment in the movie when as soon as I saw there was a half ripped apart android on the floor, I was like, "Oh no!"
Yeah, I was too.
No, it's true.
I think the best way to describe it, and maybe this isn't the best way, but I think this is a good comparison. This is what Star Wars fans felt when they brought back.
This is
Emperor
definitely
Palpatine.
the Rogue One of. Oh, I see. This is the Rogue One of alien movies. Say what you will about Rogue One. It's kind of got a similar reception to Rogue One, actually, where like a lot of people do like both films, but a lot of people also there's just a subsection of people that absolutely hate the movie for a lot of like these reviving dead actors, relying on fan service, all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm. See, I think I personally like Rogue One.
I haven't seen it in years, so it's like I don't know.
But my biggest thing,
watch it someday.
My biggest thing about Romulus, and I'm sure if I went back and watched Rogue One, I'd feel the same way. This movie feels like it's unneeded.
Yeah,
like
it doesn't really do anything. It doesn't do enough new or interesting. There's a couple like small new things that are cool. There's tons of references. Hell, they even name drop some lore things from the books. Like they give the black goo its name from the books and stuff like that.
What's the name?
It's like Praetorian something. I don't even remember. They said Ash Rook says it in the movie, and it's from one of the books, the name for it.
Gotcha.
I don't remember, but yeah.
They call it the Xenomorph.
Oh yeah, they do call it that. It's the whole set design and production design is based on Alien Isolation. The Hive is obviously inspired by Isolation.
Also, I was thinking about it because I know you and I talked about it after I watched it. They do show Big Chap, but it's like...
Yeah, I realized afterwards that they do show him, but they show his corpse.
Yeah, and it's like this really awkwardly like just...
I genuinely forgot that they showed his corpse until I watched a video that reminded me of it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, they did show that. I completely forgot.
Right, but the only reason we know it's Big Chap is because the lighting
like pointed it out. Like their filmmaking points it out.
Yeah. The lighting just so happened to hit the dome just right, so you saw the skull-looking head inside the dome.
I mean, all the aliens in this one had this, except for the spoiler one, have the skull in the dome.
Yeah. We're saying spoilers. You can talk about the newborn.
The offspring. Yeah.
The offspring. The third attempt at a more humanoid alien.
It's whatever. I don't care.
I mean, it's creepy. I'll give it that.
Yeah, that's it. There's some effective shots with it. I don't know. The thing with it, though, that annoyed me was less the fact that they had the offspring in the movie, and more just the fact that it's like
it grows.
The actual adult xenomorphs were never scary or creepy in this.
Yes, they are, and that's this film. Like honestly, there is not a single moment in this film that was memorable to me.
There's two for me. There's a scene with the facehuggers where they're sneaking through. I thought that was fine. And then there's the acid blood zero gravity scene, which I thought was legitimately, fairly well, good creative sequence idea.
See, I just
took elements that were already established with the aliens and did something new with them, which I appreciated. I wish the movie did more of that.
Yeah, I just wish it would have attempted to do new or more interesting things. Like,
right.
I while watching it, I kind of realized like literally anything in this film doesn't matter because we know what happens in Aliens and we know what happens in Alien 3.
For me, it kind of takes away a little I don't know. It kind of takes away a little to have that just between Alien and Aliens, oh, the company actually did find the big chap alien. Oh, they studied it. Oh, they conveniently it woke up conveniently. They lost everything they had on it. How can they? I don't know. There's kind of a justification for it in the movie, but I still, I don't know. It feels kind of cheapens Aliens a little.
Yeah, it really does. And
it's like, for me, I'm just like, if you're not gonna continue the Ridley Scott prequels, then why are we setting this before Alien 3?
Right.
Please set it after Alien 3.
There is, yeah, because there's a ton of
There's
stuff.
Hundreds of years between Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection.
Now, I will say this. It kind of felt like Romulus was supposed to tie up the loose end of Alien Covenant to Alien with the explanation for the black goo.
I guess. I don't know. The thing is, it's like it felt more like, oh, we just wanted to have some black goo references because it's like, hey, we're going to acknowledge Prometheus rather than necessarily being a continuation of it. It's like, we're going to acknowledge it because we want to and feel like we should, probably.
Mm-hmm. But overall, watching the film, I just was like, whatever.
I was disappointed.
I will say this, and you know this, I'm just going to say it for listeners. This is the first time in a movie where I have literally, like, contemplated getting up and walking out. Needless to say, I was not impressed with Romulus. Now, I will say this, and this is something probably we should have prefaced. You and I, so we never talk about it, which is weird because, like, we both share this love. You and I love the Alien Predator franchise.
Yes.
Aliens was one of the first films that I probably had on back to back to back to back, like when I first saw it as a kid. Like, I just replayed it as much as I could. And Alien was one of my first rated R movies that I had ever seen. Actually, I think it was the first one.
I mean, yeah, that's what makes this so disappointing is that I love the Alien and Predator franchise, and we got a really good Predator movie recently, but seeing this new Alien movie, I feel like I've just watched kind of everything I hate about current Hollywood.
It's Godzilla King of the Monsters.
It's that, but worse. Like, I definitely was kind of reminded of King of the Monsters in regards to its fan service, but I think even King of the Monsters had some degree of restraint. Maybe not restraint is the right word, but it wasn't as, remember this every 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm. So
once they reach the space station here, it actually just straight up is. Remember this?
Yeah.
5 minutes later?
And
remember that?
That's something I will say. The first 25 minutes of the movie actually pretty interesting.
It's fine. It's okay.
I would have been down with it, but the moment they take off and land at the space station, everything goes out the door.
Yeah.
Like, once they start doing
the look of the movie is all right. Like, I think the production design is good. It's kind of a repeat of Alien/Alien Isolation, but it's fine. There's a little bit of Alien sprinkled in as well in the design, which is neat. The effects, they look good in the sense of it always looks like something is physically there. And even like some of the actual CG effects do look fairly good.
CG aliens, though, suck.
Yeah, but I will say especially the adult aliens and the chestburster looking pretty stiff here.
Yeah, I was
compared to what like Aliens or what ADI was doing, and I know ADI. It's like ADI gets a lot of criticism for like their alien stuff, but it's like, say what you will about it, at least the ADI aliens have life to them.
Mm-hmm.
The aliens here just kind of felt like Halloween animatronics and how they move. Well, maybe it's not even necessarily how they move. Maybe it's how they cut around them almost in some regards.
Yeah, the editing
Like the
for them.
Because sometimes I've noticed, like, in even looking at trailer clips, it's like you'll have moments of, like, say, the inner jaw coming out, and you'll see it just kind of come to a stop and bounce back a little, which obviously, you know, the animatronic has to stop. But it's like seeing it do that, it's like, just cut a few frames earlier.
Right. Yeah, no, it's weird because the aliens are always either shrouded in shadow, concealed, or they quickly cut away from them, no matter if it's CG, a puppet, or a man in a suit, or an animatronic.
I mean, the man in the suit shots tend to look pretty okay. I don't think they're quite as full of life as Woodruff's aliens.
God, I miss Tom Woodruff as Alien.
Yeah, his presence is genuinely sorely missed in this film.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. And the thing is, it's like the aliens are still fast moving in this film, which I think is what hurts it, because it's like if they were slow moving like in the original, then you can kind of get away with the stiffness.
Mm-hmm.
But we see them running around at multiple points. Sorry. So it's like whenever they're just stiff animatronics, it really stands out more.
Yeah. Needless to say, I don't think Romulus will be on our top movies of the year.
I hated it. I was so disappointed.
Now, before we get into the main topic, we do have a couple of things of news, and then we got a listener feedback, and then we'll dive into
I've got one Tokusatsu movie I want to talk about. Or maybe not a Tokusatsu movie, but a Japanese movie nonetheless.
Let's hear it.
So, I recently had the pleasure of being able to see 1926's A Page of Madness by Tenosuke Kinugasa in theaters just last week. Yes. With a live musical performance by I don't remember their name, but it was like a post-rock band, which is when it comes to musical performances for a silent film, I wouldn't expect a rock band to be like the most fitting, but actually their music fit very well for A Page of Madness, because A Page of Madness is, from what I've looked, it seems like a fair lot of people kind of consider it as like one of Japan's first horror movies, and
yes,
from what I understand, it certain like released music it's paired with usually tends to be kind of more horror-ish music, like gothic horror-ish music.
Yeah, A Page of
Madness really isn't a horror movie, and it was from what I understand, it was never intended as one. That's more just a retroactive sort of thing. It was more just an experimental movie, and it's a sad movie. Playing it as a horror, like, there's horrific elements in it, but playing it as a horror is kind of misconstruing what the film is actually about.
It's a lot like The Man Who Laughs. If we're talking in terms of like horror films, like that's more of a tragic movie than a horror movie, though it is considered one of Universal's first horror movies. It's very much that, but more so than that, A Page of Madness is, to many people, including myself, is considered the first Tokusatsu movie, because Eiji Tsuburaya actually did work on this film. He did some of the compositing and whatnot for the film.
Yeah. Oh, I will say some of the visuals are absolutely wonderful, especially for a film of 26. There's these like half exposed double exposure shots. I don't know how else to describe it. That just look awesome. They look fantastic. And yeah, no, it was a wonderful, very somber film that really, I loved it. I really, really loved it. But one weird thing, so the film I saw, it was the screening was marketed as being as utilizing a 35 millimeter transfer, a new restoration of the film that was created by the Japan Film Archive in I want to say 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That obviously restored the film, but also gave the film tried to remaster the film's blue tint that it has, because it's either the entire film or just parts of the film. I don't know if it's 100% known, but at the very least, parts of the film have this blue tint.
Mm-hmm.
And you look. I was looking the other day at footage from the restoration process, and it has a blue tint on their restoration. When the film actually played in the theater, it was entirely black and white. So I don't know what happened to that blue. I don't know what happened to that blue tint, because apparently they were using the actual film reel sent from the Japan Film Archive, Japan Film Archive, like the only one in the world apparently for this restoration. They had borrowed and were taken care of. So wonder what happened to that.
It's funny you bring up A Page of Madness, because I actually just recently got a book courtesy of Jeffrey Engels. Thank you, Jeffrey. He sent me a gift, and it's a book called Moden Izumu, Modernist Fiction from Japan, 1913 to 1938, which he did some translations for. But it also has in it the film scenario Page of Madness. It has that translated in the book.
Oh, wow.
So him and I talked about it at G-Fest, that film specifically, and he thought of me, and so he gifted me that book. So that's my next book after Mountains and Seas and the Kojeki will be that, and I'm gonna read that next. So I'm excited to read. I need to watch the film again, and then I'm gonna read the book, and I'm pretty excited to do that.
So you have seen the film before?
I did. I don't remember. I was like 90% asleep. But I own it. And I have the Blu-ray. I have also has like a 40-minute lecture from some people in the 80s about the movie.
It's a very good film. Like, I haven't seen too many silent films, but out of the ones I have seen, it's my favorite.
Nice.
Yeah. But anyways, I'll let you continue now into what you were going to say before.
Yeah. So I've got... First, I forgot to bring this up before. I have a little bit of news I want to share that's personal. Recently, I got promoted at Kaiju United to the Chief Innovative Officer, so that's something new that's happened.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So that'll be something now that I talk about more is being the CIO of Kaiju United. I'm very excited. So that'll be a lot of fun. Thank you, Jacob, and to everybody who helped me get that position. I appreciate it a lot, and I can't wait to see what I can do. Moving on from that, we talked about this in a recent Kaiju Conversation live episode with Grattan Conwell, but Godzilla 1954 is coming to 4K officially in the West through the Criterion Collection. No more importing for me. For you, they're still importing.
Took long enough.
Yeah, and apparently it's not even the most recent transfer. It's like the old transfer of the 4K version.
Yeah, something like that I remember hearing about.
Yeah. Minoru Kawasaki announced a new film, Cyborg Ishinasuke, which is the third film in the Koda Town co-productions. So this is in the same kind of...
What? So we're getting another...
Hikosa film.
Right.
It's actually an adaptation of the Hikosa story again, but with like a modern twist of he's a cyborg.
That's funny.
So this one, the second one is a UFO intruder. I don't know what that one's about, but there's more Kawasaki coming. I'd love for them to get released here so Kawasaki Month could be a thing again. There's plenty of films he's done that we could cover. Outside of that, there is one big piece of news that I'm excited to hear your thoughts on. Bandai and Toho are now partially the same, only partially.
I heard something about that. They were like What exactly were they doing? Because I didn't look too much into it, but I did hear they were...
Yeah, so they entered into a business partnership that is solely focusing on creating and developing original IPs to be distributed and marketed in Japan and worldwide. So a part of this deal was Bandai purchased 0.25% of Toho stock, and Toho purchased 0.13% of Bandai stock. And so they now, Bandai now partially owns Toho, and Toho partially owns Bandai. And so they're going to be developing original IPs, though they probably will end up working on Godzilla stuff. Let's be real here. I've seen this as terrible news myself.
Yeah.
Like, I know some people are excited, but like the Bandai mandates that they put Toei and Tsuburaya under have not helped the franchises. I think they've hindered the franchises.
Bandai having control on these things, not necessarily the best thing. Yeah.
Not a fan.
It kind of just sounds, from what little I know and I've understood about it, it doesn't sound very good to me.
Yeah.
But hey, maybe I'm wrong. I've done very little research on it.
We'll see. But that is our little bit of news. We don't usually do a lot of news. We just a couple of major things there. So there's that. But we do have a piece of listener feedback. This was from our Kaiju United interview we did on YouTube. This was a comment left by Frankie B. Washington, who is currently working on Kaijus and Cowboys, an indie comic book. Definitely, if you haven't already, check that out. They're on to issue 5. So his response to this live stream was, quote, getting ready for the Kaijus and Cowboys issue 5 Kickstarter campaign in August, and this interview really put a huge smile on my face. Thank you. So thank you, Frankie, for leaving that comment. Thank you for the support. It's much appreciated. I do know we've gotten a couple of reviews on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts, so thank you guys for whoever left those 5-star reviews. Remember, if you want to get a shout out or something, leave a review and then give us a description or a rundown of what you thought of the show. It's much appreciated either way. We love seeing those reviews. We love hearing listener feedback. So thank you so much and keep it coming. We've actually had some the last 2 episodes we've done. So it's really, I appreciate it a lot. I'm sure Rex does too. So thank you guys so much for that.
Oh yeah, we always appreciate it.
But speaking of appreciating, we do some film appreciation on this show, don't we?
What a smooth transition there.
Well, it would be a transition, but I'm sorry to say, Rex, but I kind of forgot what we were supposed to be doing today.
Well, good thing I didn't.
You didn't.
Because today is a very paradoxical day, you could say.
Is it? Are we covering it?
We are, in fact, covering.
We're covering the Great Buddha arrival?
No. Go take your pills, Grandpa.
We're covering Back to the Future?
No, we're covering the Cloverfield paradox.
Oh, are we officially moving through the entire Cloverfield franchise?
Yes.
Wow.
We're about to be done. No more.
And it only took 3 years. 4, 5.
Hey,
6.
that's faster than any other franchise so far.
That's true, and it's only 3 movies.
Yeah. Take that for what you will.
So we are covering the 3rd and currently final Cloverfield movie. There's supposed to be a 4th one. Whether it happens or not remains to be seen.
The more days pass by, the more skeptical I become.
Or who knows, maybe it'll be announced next Super Bowl and it'll drop the same day.
Yeah, maybe. At this rate, anything can happen. It's a Cloverfield movie.
Speaking of which, Rex, anything can happen here. What do you want to do? Do you want to talk about the pre-production influences part, or do you want to dive into the film?
Sure, let's talk about just a bit of background. So originally, this was similar to 10 Cloverfield Lane. This film has its origins in a spec script. In this case, one titled The God Particle, that was written around 2012? Or was it the year before?
Development on the God particle started in 2008 into 2009.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so to provide a little bit of context here, so Oren Uziel, the co-writer of Cloverfield Paradox, like you said, it was God particle. So it was a speculative screenplay by Oren, who his credits include the scrapped Men in Black 4, the Borderlands movie
that's funny.
that just came out. He worked on that. He was attached to do a Pokemon Detective Pikachu sequel. He left that. He was attached to the Adam Wingard Face-Off sequel. He left that. He did literary material for Kraven the Hunter. He's the showrunner and executive producer of Spider Noir, which might not even happen anymore. And he's working on Fast and the Furious 11.
God.
What a dude.
What an unfortunate career.
He also was working on 22 Jump Street, which I think was going to be the Men in Black crossover. I don't know, but that's probably why that was an idea, was because he was working on both. But yeah, so the main plot of the God particle is the same as we see in the movie. It's about a group of scientists and a space station. They use this machine. The Earth goes missing. They have to fight for their lives. You know, that's the basic plot, right?
Yeah, which is pretty much the general gist of what this film is about.
Yeah. So you mentioned that Paramount and Bad Robot bought it in 2012, the same way they did with 10 Cloverfield Lane. But the script actually started in 2008 into 2009 due to the recent Expedition 18 launching, which was the 18th permanent crew of the International Space Station, which had 5 people during their time on the ISS. So that recent event inspired this film in that developmental process. Actually, interestingly enough, on March 12th of 2009, a piece of Delta II, a rocket that was launched in the 90s, almost hit the space station, and the crew had to evacuate. So it makes me wonder if maybe that event partially influenced some of the, there's a whole section in this movie about like debris flying and breaking the space station. I kind of wondered if maybe there's some connections there, maybe. I don't know, but yeah, so that event, those occurrences influenced the God particle. Plus, I think because a big topic of this movie is, finding a new energy source. And I guess like overpopulation? I don't know.
I mean, it's not really overpopulation. It's more just like running out of natural resources, which is a legitimate concern to this day. And
I think that was a topic of the time too.
I think it was definitely on the rise around like the late 2000s and early to mid 2010s.
Well, another film that came out around 2008 that kind of covered that was Iron Man, with the development of his arc reactor. That's a clean energy source that they have in that movie. So the idea of creating clean energy sources, not using oil and whatnot, was something that was just relevant at that time.
Right.
So I definitely
still is.
Yeah. So I definitely think that all of that was a part of the like developmental phase of this film.
Right, yeah. And the film, interestingly, was initially set to be released under Paramount's Insurge Pictures label with a budget of merely $5 to $10 million.
And The Cellar, which was the original film before 10 Cloverfield Lane, was also supposed to be under this label. That was actually the only one at the time of like when that label went under, because that label went under in 2015 just because it was kind of a pointless label.
Right.
The only film they actually carried over that they thought would have the ability to be carried over was The Cellar, which makes sense because it ended up being very successful as 10 Cloverfield Lane. Now, another thing, as we're talking about when it was announced under that label, Julius Onah, who is the director, was announced at that same time. He had been attached to the film from 2012 all the way up to 2018 when it finally came out. But I mean, this was his only film, and it's still like one of his highest like names to his, or highest like most popular titles to his name. So it kind of makes sense. But I mean, I give him this, like a lot of directors would have dropped out of it a lot quicker than 6 years.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, and after eventually, once things started getting going in around March 2016 with casting.
Yeah,
which
so
that been just after 10 Cloverfield Lane. That was 2016, right?
Yes, that was, yes.
Yeah, like February. Am I crazy?
I believe you are correct with that. I'm trying to remember the release date.
Oh no, it came out in March.
So it would have been right as the film was being released that this one was greenlit, which makes sense because
that's funny.
because 10 Cloverfield Lane came out with such a good response and good, it was a good box office. I'm sure that's why they kind of went into it. Now, the cast was already beginning to be figured out back in 2012. The director actually talked about meeting with the lead actress back in 2012 about the project.
Right. Oh, I mean, I'm sure if they had had a director attached, that they'd probably already gone. I've no doubt they would have been at that point of at least having discussions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so it makes a lot of sense that it seems like pretty quickly the cast had been decided. The only person that was kind of up in the air was the character of Mundy.
Mm-hmm.
And that was due to, initially they wanted John Krasinski to play Mundy, which, if you know him, he was Mr. Fantastic and Doctor Strange into the Multiverse of Madness, Jim Halper from The Office, and he wrote, directed, and performed in A Quiet Place and A Quiet Place Part 2. Which, oddly enough, A Quiet Place almost became a Cloverfield movie. So yeah, I think that's pretty funny how it's all kind of connected there.
You could almost call it a Cloverfield paradox.
Ha! That's funny because that's the name of this movie.
Yeah,
that's clever. It's almost like the movie does that joke.
I'm here all day.
Ah, that's funny. Ha!
So filming began on June 10th, 2016, in Los Angeles because of tax incentive.
Mm-hmm. And it was entirely shot on a soundstage.
Yeah, I can tell.
Yeah.
You can tell. And it wrapped on September 23rd of the same year.
Yeah, so that was about 60 days, so that's about the typical time frame of a production, which makes sense.
Around this time, it was also when the original writer, Uziel, learned that, this is now a Cloverfield movie. Well, and he had to write new things for it.
The director didn't even know it was a Cloverfield movie until mid-production. Like, nobody knew because...
funny.
Yeah, so the thing about the film was...
So essentially, it was very likely, they actually Abrams probably decided mid-production.
Yeah, so they started, during that 4-year process prior to filming actually beginning. They had toyed with the idea of making it a Cloverfield movie, but they had never decided on anything. So when they started filming, halfway through production, that's when they were like, actually, let's make this a Cloverfield movie. So then they wrote in some lines and whatnot to make it a Cloverfield film. And oddly enough, the closest, the parts that make it the most connected weren't even in the original script, which are all the Earth sequences.
Yeah, makes sense.
All the Earth sequences were added in during test screenings when the audience was like, we want to see what's going on Earth. So that's when they
some things.
Yes, when I learned that, I was like, okay, so I'm going to complain a lot, and now I know why I'm going to be complaining. So the whole inclusion of Clover, the inclusion of the Easter eggs for 10 Cloverfield Lane and whatnot, most of that not even supposed to be in the film.
Test audiences strike once again.
So yeah, because basically in the turned Cloverfield version, it would have been the reference to Slusho, Tagarato, and the fact that they seemingly go back and forth on calling it the Shepherd and the Cloverfield Station. Which doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, because I think they do actually refer to the station as the Shepherd at one point.
Yes, they do. Right. At the very beginning, and it's on the space station. It's literally called the Shepherd. It's like SPH, and then the numbers.
Yeah.
But yet on news reports and
it's on Cloverfield Station, yeah.
Mm-hmm, and then they shoehorn the Howard brother, cousin, whatever character.
Maybe character. Is this the same universe as Lane? Probably not.
No, it's not. The director, actually, JJ confirmed that it wasn't.
It wouldn't really make sense for it to be.
But he has a book that's called The Cloverfield Paradox, and it's named after the space station.
Movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very obvious this film was literally shot. Like, I guarantee you a lot of the Cloverfield stuff was done in ADR.
/ reshoots, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can tell.
Yeah.
It makes sense. It honestly does explain a couple things.
But the reason it was turned into a Cloverfield film was to make it more marketable. Like, with the whole day and age where you have to be a sequel, remake, prequel, or, be connected to a franchise to make money. That's why they gave it this title and whatnot. Actually, during production, it went through a couple of titles. It was God Particle initially. During filming, they called it Clean Pass, and then they pulled it off of schedule, and then they put it back as 2017 Cloverfield movie, which was the temp title. And then it was rumored to be Cloverfield Station, which is what it's called in the movie. And then it became the Cloverfield Paradox. And the title wasn't revealed to anybody until the day it came out. The cast learned about it during a meeting the day it came out. That's also when they learned when the trailer would be dropping and that it would be releasing the night of the Super Bowl.
Right. And yeah, interesting marketing stunt, that.
Yeah, they were trying to do something different. And speaking of different, just to establish it, the whole reason that it was turned into a Cloverfield movie outside of the marketability was that JJ liked the idea of the Twilight Zone and like an anthology series. So he was inspired by that, which in some of the press leading up to the film, so it was actually planned to have an IMAX release. So there's probably like an IMAX like aspect ratio version somewhere that's lost. Yeah.
Damn.
Because it was titled IMAX Cloverfield Movie. That was another one of the like temp titles for the schedule.
Oh, also, we didn't mention this, but reportedly, the film's budget is $40 million.
I got 45.
Yeah, I also saw 45, which is a lot more than the initial budgets.
That's 8 times, right? 8 times? No, that's 9 times. 9 times the original budget.
If you go for 45 million, yeah.
Which it was actually supposed to end up costing more, and there's a couple shots where you can tell. Like, I noticed there's a couple sequences where the compositing of the actors to the background, it doesn't look like they finished the blending of the lighting.
What, in like the...
I remember one with Mundy, and it's kind of like a medium close-up of him, and it's looking up at him, and his hair's kind of off-white or gray.
I don't know if I noticed that one, but I definitely noticed when Zhang Zi's character, Tam, and the German character, played by Daniel Bruhl, Schmidt, that's his character's name,
Mm-hmm.
when they're in the X deck together near the beginning of the movie, when it like is on fire briefly, I'm like, yikes, that's some not great green screen.
Yeah.
And then obviously the Earth scenes kind of.
Yeah, it's obvious, especially the first hint at Clover, like the way it moves, and it's pretty bad. Like, it's not even. I don't think it's even finalized CG.
Oh yeah, no.
Now,
yeah.
all of that, so
Sometimes this film does not look like it even had a 40 million budget, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. Now, so the reason for that was JJ was supposed to be overseeing this production, like he had done for Cloverfield. He was really hands-on for Cloverfield, and he was mostly hands-on for 10 Cloverfield Lane. But for Paradox, so he was serving as an executive producer on, or no, this would have been right after Force Awakens, during the time where he lost The Last Jedi, but he still served as an EP on The Last Jedi, and then he was given the directing gig on Rise of Skywalker. So his little involvement in The Last Jedi and then his major involvement in Skywalker in 2019, that started development in 2018 or 2017. It was after, it would have been 2018, I think. I don't remember. I read somewhere that it was like JJ had been so busy doing other projects. It was probably Overlord, now that I'm thinking about it. He was probably really
almost Cloverfield movie at one point, maybe.
So he was so busy that the film didn't have, I mean, it was a first-time director. He didn't really know what he was doing.
Right.
They were really relying on JJ, and the chairman of Paramount was just like, it's too little too late, JJ. We got to do something with this film. You got to wrap it up. So they, in the post-production process, they were 3 months prior to release, because this film, initially announced with the February 24th, 2017 release, got pushed back to October 27th. And then it got pushed back again to February 2nd, and then it got pushed back to April 12th. So it had 4 delays that delayed it over a year and a month, roughly. And so during 8 weeks, I think it was, if I remember, 8 weeks before the Super Bowl on February 4th. So that would have been what, December of 2017, roughly?
Mm-hmm.
That's when they were starting to figure out, what can we do to release this film? So they kind of wrapped up post-production kind of quick, decided what to do with the film, sold it to Netflix because they did not think they could make money off of it. And then that's when Netflix, they paid $50 million for it. So they, Paramount made a subtle, profit off of it, but it was better than dropping it in theaters and not making $50 million immediately.
Right.
And this was all following Annihilation, another Paramount film that they sold to Netflix that did well. And so they sold it to Netflix to just get the payout, and they moved on.
Right.
Which I think ended up leading to a problem, because during the press run for Paradox, it was announced that there was a plan following Cloverfield Paradox to start producing Cloverfield films every year. They were going to do a annual Cloverfield film, which probably would have led to Overlord actually being in the Cloververse, and so on and so forth. Maybe A Quiet Place would have then been adapted as well, because that was 2019. Overlord in 2018.
Which for their money was probably a good idea to not attach A Quiet Place.
Yeah.
And instead make it its own franchise. Seeing how there's now 3 of those, with a 4th on the way.
Mm-hmm. So they ended up canning that, obviously. And then, eventually after that, now JJ has basically moved away. I mean, he's no longer working on Star Trek or Mission Impossible. He's moved all of his productions to Warner Brothers, and now they're co-producing and whatnot, even though, that's been a disaster.
Oh my god, his Batman thing finally came out.
That's true, yeah. But, he was supposed to
get something for Warner.
He was supposed to be, the Kevin Feige of, DC, and then he just...
nothing.
Warner was you've done nothing, so I guess they're renegotiating a contract now, and he's getting, a huge pay cut. Because they're you didn't give us anything. You're not getting money. Because he has literally not produced a single film project for them since getting hired by Warner back in 2021. And so now JJ's they're not doing sequel trilogy Star Wars either. So he's all in on Warner, except for Cloverfield 4. That's the one thing Paramount and Bad Robot are still doing. And that's in limbo.
Yeah.
So, needless to say,
what a fun state for the franchise.
It's a fun state. Speaking of which, I will say this. Steven Spielberg apparently was on set for a day during reshoots.
Naturally.
And I guess he provided some tips. Who knows if they actually use them. But it did do pretty well on Netflix. It did 5 million views in the first 7 days. That's almost 1 million views a day. That's pretty good.
That's good, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Streaming numbers are a bit weird.
Yeah. And, the whole thing was they wanted to the whole push was they wanted to do something different. They wanted to shock people with, releasing a trailer and then releasing that it drops tonight and you can watch it right after the Super Bowl. But I think it's since then been kind of realized like they did that because there was no faith in the film. Because following the drop, there was like a Facebook live stream with the director, 2 cast members, and JJ. And then after that, nobody's really addressed it since.
Yeah.
It's like they want to forget it exists.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is funny because...
Don't worry, it's not hard to forget it exists.
It's funny because at one point they theorized of having a sequel where the 10 Cloverfield Lane actress...
Oh, Mary Elizabeth Winstead's character, yeah.
Would cross over with the remaining actors from this movie, but I don't think they're going to ever reference this film ever again.
Yeah. Yeah, who knows? Maybe Big Clovey will come back again.
I bet he will.
If Clovey ever comes back.
If.
It's a key word there.
It is.
But, do you think we should... Do you have anything else you want to mention, or should we get into the film itself?
Well, here's a fun little connection to Alien Romulus. Post-production CG was done by Atomic Fiction, which also worked on Romulus. ILM also worked on it, and Base FX worked on it. So you had 3 companies doing the effects for this film.
How unfortunate they worked on Alien Romulus, poor guys.
But that's really all I got. The only other thing is most of the visual nods to Cloverfield weren't even meant to happen. Like the whole idea of them falling down from space onto Earth, mirroring the ending scene of
the thing from the asteroid in Cloverfield.
Yeah, that wasn't even intentional.
That wasn't intentional?
No. There's also this thing where if you play Cloverfield and the Cloverfield paradox at the same time, the roar of Clover plays at the exact same time as the first explosion in the Cloverfield paradox, and it's that's just a coincidence.
Well, I was also wondering, is it meant to so was the explosion meant to be, was Cloverfield attacking New York in this movie, or is it just random city?
It's London.
Oh yeah, because
she's
character
British
is from the UK. Yeah.
It's right. London.
Oh, that's true.
So it's not even. Yeah, no, it's not even it's not the same part of the world. It's not the same time period. It's literally just.
And of course, the monsters are. Mr. Grumpy Pants is a little bigger this time around.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that as we go through this film. If you're ready, I think we're good to go.
Yes, I believe I am ready.
Now, I did wonder, and I'm starting to think this isn't the fact, because during the opening logos, there's radio static that's kind of little bit of exposition for
right,
there's an energy crisis. Yeah. I thought that was a callback to Cloverfield, but it probably wasn't. Now that, we know that most of these callbacks weren't even intentional.
I hadn't even thought about that. I don't remember how Cloverfield opens outside of TJ Miller.
Well, the Cloverfield ends with radio static and chatter. So I thought that was kind of the the
there's
carryover.
No way that was intentional. No way.
Yeah,
no
it
way.
wasn't.
Not a chance.
I thought they were being clever, but they weren't.
No, God,
Also,
no.
this film takes place in 2028, so we got 4 years until the energy crisis, just so you know.
Oh, lucky us. Yeah, so we're introduced to they bring up the Shepherd in this exposition and the particle accelerator that's being built.
They bring up how it's like a collection of the most powerful nations, which...
Yeah.
See, there's a movie that came out last year called ISS, which I think literally covers this exact same stuff, except for the whole like power source thing. I think they omit that. But I'm wondering if it's better than this movie and how it covers this.
Who knows? I've never heard of this movie.
I only know it because I think it played literally in front of every single showing of Godzilla -1 I attended. That and Imaginary, which is a... Was that an
Oh, that movie.
Yeah, that
No,
one.
that's not an A24 movie. That's a Blumhouse movie, bro.
Oh, yeah. So Imaginary,
It's a Blumhouse early year horror movie.
Imaginary, and ISS. Like I saw the trailer, and Argyle. I saw that like 30 times.
Yeah. No, everyone saw the Argyle trailer 30 times.
It's funny. The more you watch that trailer, the more you see all the bad stuff that goes on in it. Like it's an awful trailer. Like I'm just gonna be real with you. Like it's so bad. The Argyle trailer is trash.
It wasn't a very good movie either.
So I've heard.
I was so disappointed when Henry Cavill and John Cena did not kiss.
So in this movie, The Cloverfield Paradox, during the whole introduction, we also get our credits, which they carry over the whole 10 Cloverfield Lane font, which I don't get, but whatever. It's kind of lame. Whatever.
Oh, I didn't pick up on it. What I did pick up on is that the music is very clearly by Bear McCreary.
Yes. Now, speaking of music and whatnot, so maybe this is like an issue with my setup, or maybe I'm going deaf. Maybe you can help me here. Was it like I had to turn my TV's volume up all the way to like clearly hear these characters talk?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't have much of a hard time hearing them. I mean, I had subtitles on the entire movie, but that's just my Netflix was set up that way, so I'm like, sure.
Gotcha.
But I don't know. I just I thought the dialogue was pretty easy to understand here, but some movies, like the recently mentioned Alien Romulus, I had a fair bit of trouble understanding like half of the dialogue.
Yeah. But anyways, I was curious what you noticed there, so it's probably something on my end. But we get introduced to our main character, Ava Hamilton.
And her husband, Michael.
Which is funny. Michael, you don't listen.
It just occurred to me.
You probably aren't listening, but Michael, you have a Cloverfield counterpart.
You're in the Cloverfield paradox. How does it make you feel?
Michael, I expect a phone call when you hear this episode. It'll be in 20 years.
Left on unread.
But no, they talk about her getting the offer to go up in space, and she's like, no, and he's like, do it because that'll save the world. We get introduced to another blackout. I guess they happen frequently.
Oh, yeah.
Also, another thing, every single sequence that is taking place on Earth is basically handheld.
I was about to ask, were you talking about the handheld?
Yes. Like I noticed that like every single shot
I noticed it like the first shot of the cars.
Yes, I did too. It's like every shot, and it carries through the entire film. The only times it's not handheld, I think, is the wide shot of the destroyed apartment building.
Right, which is like mostly a VFX shot anyways.
Yeah. And then there's like a high angle shot looking down on Michael and the kid when they run into the bunker. And outside of that, I think everything else that is on Earth is handheld.
Right.
Which now makes sense because it was probably done. They didn't have the crane. They didn't have anything. They probably literally just threw people on
shot
sets.
It in like 2 days.
Yeah. Actually, they had a week of reshoots.
Doesn't look like it.
It really doesn't, but that week probably was stuff to include for the Cloverfield stuff.
Maybe it was also a little bit of extra bits on the space station. Who knows?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, so I noticed that like it's very much it's very obvious. Like it just looks entirely different.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it makes so much sense that the Earth scenes were reshoots, because I realized near the end of the film that these scenes don't actually matter.
No, they literally just are padding the runtime for no reason.
Yeah.
You could cut all of it.
You can still have the Cloverfield monster appear at the end, and I'd argue it would be more effective of a twist to have them come to Earth without having already been shown that the Cloverfield monster is here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't have the Earth scenes. Have that be a twist that, hey, not only did we go and displace that second universe, but also monsters from the second universe or something have shown up here. Have that be like your finale twist. But the movie shows its hands early on, like around the halfway mark with the monster.
But see, they don't even like the thing about the inclusion of the monsters is it's just teasing.
Right.
Like legitimately every shot with the monsters there's some text on a phone that you can't read very clearly, but it talks about what is that? What was that thing? I'll quote them. I wrote some of them down.
Oh god, some of the shots of the phones and they're trying to show text. It's like you generally can't read what's being said.
No,
or what's written.
I did like
it's shot in a way where it's like you should. If it's showing this, it wants you to read this.
Mm-hmm. I did frame by frame, and even then there were certain parts where like I couldn't read it.
Like, I'm not even talking about like the part where he's looking at all the messages online. I'm talking about like when the characters are like texting each other, and
yes,
it's a static shot on the phone screen.
I remember
you can't actually read what's on the screen.
When he was in the car, I actually had to pause and walk up to my TV to read it. Like I could not read it and I was like, am I like, is it the fact I'm watching this on a DVD?
No, it's the fact that no. It's literally just the fact that the text is so thin, like the font on his phone.
Yeah. Well, it's good to know I'm not going too crazy. But even like, so the text like hinting at the monsters really lame. The fact that what you see destroying that apartment building is not Clover. Like, it does not look like Clover.
I mean, you can't really tell what it is. You just kind of see maybe a Clover leg or something moving through dust.
But it's all a tease. I think there's a roar.
There's a couple roars, yeah, throughout.
And then the very end where it pops out. And it's like, it's a tease, it's a tease, it's a tease, it's a tease. Here's a reveal. Oh, we're done. It's over. Oh, and then whenever Michael's like, you're bringing them back down with these things. It's like, what?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like if that was the only time we cut back to Michael,
that would have been perfect.
Then it would actually be really effective.
Mm-hmm. It would have been. But the fact that we're following him, like...
We just cut back to him every now and again to see his situation.
That doesn't matter.
Yeah, it literally does not amount to anything.
Especially with the whole ending. We're really jumping ahead to this ending.
I don't care. It's fine. Doesn't matter.
The whole thing about the ending is like they really end the film hinting at maybe they don't even make it back to Earth. So what's the point?
Well, they do make it back to Earth. Like but
we don't know if they land.
I don't know. I think
because the way that Michael is set up, it's like, no, like they can't come back down. These things are here, and then the Cloverfield monster that showed, like they don't. It's Schrodinger's cat. They could be alive. They could not be alive. We don't know.
I think the idea is that they crash in the sea, but he doesn't want them to come back because what the hell are these monsters?
We don't know if she even gets to see him again. Like, it might be 100% pointless for her to be back. And that's the thing is, like, it would make sense to cut back if we're going to tie up that loose end. But we're not going to. The film ends on a cliffhanger of what happens to them, which was meant to be like that was the plan, because that's the whole thing about a Cloverfield movie is it's left ambiguous. But it doesn't, like, you set up too much only for it to end. Right.
And again, it's just because of all those scenes of Michael on Earth, it just doesn't come together. Because the Cloverfield appearance isn't surprising outside of the fact that, whoa, Mr. Grumpy Pants is bigger now.
Right. And this actually leads back into where we're at in the film, which when we cut back to where we're at from the blackout to 2 years later on the space station, we immediately open with tension with our characters, which doesn't work because we don't know anybody.
Oh, yeah. I was about to mention that the only character that really gets development is our lead here, and to a small extent, her husband, Michael.
But Michael cares about people.
Yeah.
Ava had kids and she let them die because she was greedy.
Hey, it's more than anyone else in this movie has.
That's true. But see,
which then leads to every death not meaning anything.
Yes. Because, like, we go in with tension. So it's like the tension for the rest of the movie's pre-established. It's not a build-up or anything. It's like, oh, they're just... this happens.
And the thing is, the movie tries to play, like, with emotional beats with some of its side characters. Like, it's meant to be kind of sad when Zhang Zi's character dies because she was dating the German character Schmidt, and the American captain. Of course, they made the American the commander. The American sacrifices himself near the end, but it all completely falls flat.
Did you get Alien vibes from this?
The set design? Oh, the set design gave me
just in
Alien.
General.
Oh, yeah. I also got reminded of a movie that's basically an Alien ripoff that came out the year before Cloverfield Paradox called Life.
Yes. They actually talked about... Oh, no, it wasn't them, but I've heard people talk about Life when they talk about this movie.
Yeah, but like the production design, I noticed kind of... It felt like there was influence from things like Hadley's Hope, specifically from Aliens, and how like the hallways look in terms of their shape. And like the general like detailing of the hallways, with a little bit of like Prometheus in that sort of modern look for other rooms.
I got a lot of Alien vibes, but it doesn't work here.
I mean, they downright do a chestburster scene in this film.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that when we get there, because I literally wrote that down. But, you know, it's these characters have no... Like, we don't even get introduced to them. And we don't get any establishment of them. Like, the one time we get anything is whenever they try to say that Schmidt's a German spy. And then he's like, no, I'm not. That's not me. And then it turns out to be true. It's like, okay, so what do we, like... Is there really a villain here? Like, literally, all of these characters are...
an antagonist here.
Oh, yeah. But, like, she's not played as an antagonist until the very end. And then she's dispatched. I mean, she is played as
suspicious earlier on, to be fair.
That's true.
But she is kind of a nothing character.
She is. All she does is she kills the one charismatic character.
And the thing with Mina and everything else that happens in this movie, my issue with it is... Look, I can be forgiving with plot contrivances, but in this movie, genuinely, every anomaly just happens because the script demands it to happen.
Yes. That was something, it was like, you're getting me too far ahead.
Like, it genuinely doesn't feel natural at all when any of the horror moments happen. It just feels like they happen because the script says they have to.
Speaking of all this, jumping back into where we're at, I don't want to keep jumping back and forth. I'm trying to keep us on track here. So as they're like about to launch again, speaking of all the like happenings and whatnot, we're introduced to the concept of the Cloverfield paradox with our John Goodman brother character who has a book called The Cloverfield Paradox, which I thought was really stupid. I hate it when movies do actual name drops. I thought that was really stupid.
Yeah, I think it's kind of silly.
But not in like, you can be like, it's an alien when you're in the movie Alien. That's fine. But when you're like, I wrote this book called The Cloverfield Paradox, it's like, oh my God.
Well, if your title's a noun, it works. When it's like a combination of words, it just usually seems forced.
Yeah. But he goes on and, you know, this is, I guarantee you this clip was set up during reshoots where he's like, monsters, demons, creatures of the oceans, which that whole statement where he's like, those things can appear during the Cloverfield paradox, it's like, oh God.
Right.
Like, that's one of those...
It's the most just like... It's just this forced explanation of, oh yeah, this is how the monster's going to come back. This is how we set that up.
Yeah. And then they try to do the whole power thing, which did they explain what the whole thing about the power, like how it's supposed to help? Something
more energy. I think they do explain. I don't remember.
I don't remember. I know they're more worried about the worms.
Oh yeah, what were the worms about again? I don't remember what they were there for.
I don't remember why they're there, but they're there.
They just show them there once and then they're not there anymore.
I think it's because it's either one of two things. It's one, so they can like use them to help keep the dirt fertilized for their food, which I don't think it's that because they make artificial food. Or it's like how birds were taken down into mines. It could be like that, where it's like, if the worms die, we're going to die. So we need to not have them die. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think they actually ever address why there were worms.
I don't think they do. They're just there for an alien scene later on.
Yeah.
So they try to do the whole power Cloverfield Shepherd power surge thing. It doesn't work. They think it's going to work, but it doesn't work. They also have a plot MacGuffin item called the gyroscope, which I don't think we're explained why there's a gyroscope either. I don't think they established that.
I mean, a gyroscope is used for like measuring and like maintaining like your orientation. I don't think if you know what a gyroscope is, it makes sense why there is one on
but
the
isn't
ship.
That used for the like power?
No, it's used for like the actual like orientation and angle. This is a spinning ship, yes.
Okay. I must have missed
Gyro
that
means
key
round.
element.
Gyro means round.
Well, I must have missed the key element where that's to keep it like stationary.
I think you're just stupid and didn't know what a gyroscope is.
Well, they need it for the power for the entire thing.
No, it was for the orientation of the ship.
Okay.
That was what it was for. They mentioned that in the movie.
But it goes missing
because
the
thing is, when it goes missing, they're like, and once they get it back, they realize they're upside down or something.
Oh, that's right. It's for their navigation. That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so it goes missing when they launch it. It's like just it disappeared. And so then they have to like start fixing the spaceship. And the Earth is gone.
Hmm.
And then this is, like you said, like things just start happening and they just don't stop happening.
Right.
But none of it makes sense. Like they try to say like, oh, it's alternate realities coming in and like the laws of nature.
Whatever the script demands to happen.
Literally.
The one that I think can kind of work is the Mina character being on the ship because of like the displacement. That kind of works, not really, but kind of. I can give that one a pass.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. It's weird. So like they start hearing strange noises from the wall, which don't sound like a human screaming initially until they open it. That's whenever they find her, who's been like threaded with wires. She's just somehow in there, which I don't know. It was kind of weird that she survived that when you have wires going through your whole body with electrical currents.
Yeah, especially on such an advanced ship too.
Yeah, I couldn't help it.
I kind of think that would kill someone.
Yeah.
Electricity, very, very very dangerous.
And they were literally like, those are key, like, wires. Like, we can't just cut them. But they just move on from that. This is a horrible script.
Oh, that's another thing where it's like the characters will just make really rash decisions within like a moment's notice.
Mm-hmm. And like, apparently the whole, like,
the captain, like, okay, some of the supporting characters, sure, I could let it slide, but the captain's just makes impulse decisions as well.
It also really like the way that the film presents it. It sounds like the shepherd can literally just be broken down into the top part, and you're fine. Like they cut those wires, and then like later on they cut off all the oxygen to the rest of the ship. There's like 6 people on board, and it's like 2 miles long. Like I
noticed how gigantic it is, and I'm like, why does it need to be that big?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, okay, the particle accelerator, sure, I get why it would need to be somewhat big, but they have like this whole giant, like, I don't know. I guess they do, like, I guess maintenance stack, but I don't know.
It's definitely larger than it should be for 6 people.
It seemed a little silly.
Yeah. And like, the whole bottom gets like ripped in half because of an explosion, and then like it's fine. There's nothing down there they need. They end up throwing off one of the like spheres because they don't need it or something. It's the maintenance section. Like, they just don't need most of it. It's just weird how they just scrap the space station slowly, and it's like, well, at what point is it like you have to have, like, it just, this script reeks of like, we're going to do this so it'll happen. It's like Deus Ex Machina for every single thing.
Right, yeah.
It's just awful. Now, during the whole particle thing, that's whenever we cut back to our second batch of reshoots with Michael waking up to explosions and he looking outside to whatnot, and then he like immediately runs to his phone. I love that when there's like explosions really close to your house, instead of getting up and getting out, you're like, oh, let me jump back.
To be fair, that is a realistic reaction.
I feel like I would get...
The unrealistic part is that he went online. What would actually happen is he would go on his camera. Yeah,
that's actually... Yeah, I guess that did happen in Cloverfield, didn't it?
Oh, I wasn't even talking in movies. I was talking like just real life.
Yeah, no, but in Cloverfield, that's a realistic thing where it's like they would just go out and start filming the Statue of Liberty. So yeah.
Oh, that's so true. TJ Miller would be proud.
But I laughed so hard because like one of the posts says, I think something terrible just went down. Anyone have eyes on what's happening? And the app's like called Quick Feed or something. It's stupid.
Yeah.
But
I like how it doesn't even have like an actual like proper layout.
Yeah, no, it's
usernames or anything.
Yeah, it's just like
it goes on it and it's just like messages.
Yeah, it's so bad. But there are a couple posts.
It's lazy.
There are a couple posts that are supposed to be hinting to like something like, quote, did anyone else hear that sound? End quote, quote, what the hell was that? Anyone else hear that? End quote.
Right. There is the sounds of fighter jets as well.
Mm-hmm. There is one, like, people, like, somebody says they're trapped in apartment 402 P something street, number 345. You know, maybe that is the apartment that he goes to. I don't know. I thought it might have been a reference to Cloverfield. I checked. It's not. And then there's also another post that says, has anyone been outside? Is the air safe to breathe? Which I feel like that's too on the nose for it not to be a 10 Cloverfield Lane reference.
I mean, I didn't even see that one, so...
That's because I went back and I watched frame by frame to read what I could.
I mean, I took it at the idea was that, like, obviously there's the Cloverfield monster, maybe more of them, but then, like, probably, I don't know, the aliens or something are on, like, another part of the planet.
So, the way I understand it, there are no aliens, it is just the Cloverfield monsters, because they're not directly connected.
I mean, it's not like, the film doesn't really say otherwise, because it doesn't acknowledge the aliens.
JJ's the one that said that stuff.
Well, I don't care. Whatever they say outside of the movie doesn't matter.
Yeah, but the way I took it is they're not connected. I don't think there's really anything to link them up.
But yeah, regardless, thinking back to the test screenings, I kind of wonder if the reason test audiences kind of wanted to know more about what was going on Earth is because it's just more interesting than what's going on the space station.
Yeah, because as soon as they go back, they're like, the Earth is gone. They make, like, stupid Wizard of Oz jokes.
I mean, the thing with it is just the space station stuff is it's just kind of generic sci-fi horror.
Yeah, I wrote that down. Like, the film tries to be a monster movie with the Earth stuff. It ends up trying to do, like, a slasher thing at the very end. And then it's trying to be this high sci-fi concept film. And it's like, this film really is struggling to find its identity.
Yeah.
Which,
But
I mean,
again,
the monster movie part.
With the barely developed cast of characters, it's like the space station stuff just kind of becomes kind of a chore to sit through.
It does. Yeah, no, because, like, after this, they try to start, like, ramping things up because the Russian character, like, starts feeling
Hates the
something.
German guy.
Yeah, but then
he's got the issue with his eye,
which looks awful, by the way.
Yeah.
He goes and like
he like gets seemingly possessed or something. Is it like the worms hitting his brain or something?
Yeah, because he starts talking to himself. And then, like, he has a magical key that'll override it so he can, like, make a gun. And it's like, well, why wasn't this established? Like, it kind of sounds like they're setting him up to be, like, a spy, but then they don't. Like, this film is riddled with hints and allusions to the idea that, like, each of these people are working for their own country. And, like, like, it really seems like they're trying to go for a, like, you have to overcome your country pride for the better of humanity, but they never full on do that because everything happens because of the paradox and not what they're actually doing.
Right. Yeah.
And, this film is so underdeveloped. So underdeveloped.
Yeah, in spite of being about an hour and 40 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I was like, man, this is a short movie. Oh, you could, I mean, the Earth scenes alone are what, 15 minutes?
Not even that. They're like 10 at most.
Like, this movie could easily be an hour and a half. It'd be way easier. It still would be obnoxious.
With the Earth scenes, just keep the bit at the beginning with Michael and Ava. Keep the end.
Move on. Yeah.
So much better. So much better. I don't know why they didn't do that.
Well, because test audiences wanted to know what was going on.
God, well, here's the thing. Test audiences, it's like they'll know if something's wrong with the movie. They don't know what's wrong with the movie.
Mm-hmm.
God.
As speaking of what's wrong with this movie, the Russian character like goes to try and shoot Schmidt and the Chinese
I will say one thing that's kind of cool is that with the 3D printing stuff, they can 3D print guns and food.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's neat because that's something you can actually do, and I don't think that was actually like a thing you could do in 2018.
Mm-mm.
But like you can actually 3D print food. It tastes awful, but you can 3D print it, and like you can 3D print guns, although it is bad. It is kind of funny how quickly they 3D print things. So
yeah.
I wish 3D printers were that fast.
And there's another film that also does that same concept. I like, it's on the tip of my tongue. I can see it, but I don't remember what it is. But I know there's another movie that literally does the whole 3D printing a gun, and it's against like what you're supposed to do, but they override it, and now there's a gun. I don't remember what film it's from, but he like goes to shoot people, and then he coughs up white liquid and falls to the ground, dying, convulsing, very much like Kane and Alien. And then they put him they literally put him on like
on a table,
and they're inspecting.
And it's like the chest is specifically highlighted too.
Yes, and you can hear the sounds of like something cracking. It was like, oh god, what is this? And then doesn't it come out of his mouth instead?
Yeah, a bunch of worms just explode out of his mouth.
And everybody just starts stomping on the worms, and the worms are like jumping up or something too. It's weird. And then they have a little comedic relief moment where he's like, well, we found the worms. So stupid. And then like as soon as this is over, we go right into the next like problem, which is Mundy's like fixing that hole in the wall. And as he's fixing that hole in the wall, his arm gets swallowed up, and it looks god awful.
Yeah. And again, it's just like the anomalies just do whatever the film demands they do.
Mm-hmm. His arm gets chopped
There's
off.
no rhyme or reason to them. There is an explanation to them of like two realities occupying the one space. And so one is kind of, our characters are kind of like taking over a space that's not meant for them, that already had something else there.
See, that's what
but it's like that. Why did worms go into dude's stomach?
Right. And see, like, I would have understood, like, if they killed Xia Zhang's character because, you know, the other lady was alive. You know, maybe she wasn't supposed to survive, and she did, so now she's got to die. And then, like, maybe Mundy in this universe only has one arm, so that's why he loses his arm. You know?
See, but they don't establish that, so it doesn't work.
Right, and, like, they killed the whole other crew of the Shepherd, so it's like, okay, maybe because they're in this universe now, that's why they died, which they say that at the end, but there's no establishment of that's why they died. Like, they could have been dying and she was saved for all they know, you know?
You know, I'm starting to think this movie might be a little bit of a mess.
Really?
Just maybe.
Maybe. So, they cut back to Earth. By this point, Michael has found the girl, seen the Clover monster, is driving. He goes into a shelter, which I'm going to guess was a 10 Cloverfield Lane reference.
Yeah, I thought that was, reference to Hank and all that stuff.
And I think this is where they, like, have some of the roars and whatnot, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And then we cut back, and then, like, they find Mundy's arm, and it's just crawling. No rhyme or reason. It's just crawling.
Yeah, they contain it, and it just tells them where to go for the next plot thread of the movie. Yeah,
and I was like, oh god, this movie's riddled with, like, cliches and, like, go do this task and collect this and do that. It's like, this movie is just so... It's very obvious why this film was not a studio commission script. Like, this film reeks of, like, a first draft, like, boom, here's this, put it out there, maybe somebody will want it. And the thing about it is, literally everything here outside of the, like, Cloverfield statements is probably the original script.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that the original script is this messy, the fact that they're throwing extra stuff in there just adds to how messy the script is.
Yeah. I can see why there was very little faith.
Mm-hmm. But they do find the gyroscope. It's in his stomach somehow. Again, no rhyme or reason.
Yeah, literally. They find Earth finally, but it's actually another Earth. It's an alternate dimension.
That's where they reveal that the shepherd's been destroyed, and then they talk about and they plan how to like go back to their Earth. Like they're going to use it again, which is also kind of stupid, if you ask me.
Right.
They do like talk about going down to that Earth, and I do think that's kind of interesting. If they go down there, like they're probably not going to be welcomed. Just because that Earth is in World War III mode. I thought that was an interesting take. It doesn't go anywhere. They quickly just move on. But I do think that's an interesting concept that the film does have. But then they decide to pull Jensen out of the sickbay room, and then they start planning. Here we learn that Ava has kids in this world, and then she like wants to go down there.
Right. This is also after Tam, who was the engineer in the main world, dies.
Is it? No, she dies later.
No, she dies around here.
No, it's after this here, because she's in their meeting, and then they start developing stuff, I think.
Whatever, doesn't matter.
It's in this time period.
It genuinely does not matter, because who cares? Who cares?
So she wants to go down to the Earth to like save the kids, but it's also like, what are you going to do after that? And couldn't you just send a video message? Like she literally does that. It's like, just do that. Like it doesn't make sense. Or send Jensen down to warn them. It's her planet.
I mean, honestly, I thought this was like, for irrational decisions in this movie, I thought this one was at least more reasonable and understandable than like most of the others in the film, where it's like genuinely these characters who are all scientists are just acting upon impulses in this Cloverfield paradox situation, where it's like, why are you acting in complete just emotional impulse?
Mm-hmm.
What's the quarantine?
Well, my whole thing about like her specific, like they try to establish that like only one can exist in a dimension at a time, right? So it's like one of them's going to have to die either way. Like if they're going off of the half-assed established stuff they're doing.
I mean, it's not really that there can only be one of like a person or whatnot.
But she does say that like them coming into the universe is what killed her crew. It doesn't make sense.
I thought the idea was that, like, I don't know, like just knocked the other spaceship into. I don't know. It no matter what, it doesn't make sense because
none of this matters. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, clearly this was in the Adam Wingard philosophy of screenwriting.
I'm sure. I bet Adam would say that this is a very good science fiction film.
Maybe he should have directed it.
Nope. Mm-mm.
Would it be any worse?
Maybe. Actually, now I don't think so.
Yeah.
But they do start their planning here to like fix everything. But they're like, Schmidt's actually a spy, and they find his logs, and then there's that whole subplot that quickly gets thrown out whenever the door magically opens again because the paradox did it, or whatever.
Right.
Tam tries to like help fix the problem, but she gets drowned and then frozen, which doesn't make sense. And during her death, that's where I was like, am I supposed to feel something right now? Like,
the thing is, the movie wants you to care. Like, it does establish that Schmidt and Tam have that relationship, but it's like established in like 2 lines and like 1 scene they have together, but they barely get a proper introduction as characters.
Right. Also,
so it just rings hollow. And after that point, no one, including them, no one else after like the establishment of their relationship, no one else really gets a moment of character development.
Right. Also, I think before this, they tried.
I suppose.
Huh?
Until like Mina comes in, I suppose, and they have that little bit with her and Ava, like
talking about the kids and whatnot. Yeah. Now, I will say this: I think they try to establish that Schmidt and Zaya Zing's character are like going out of what the captain wants.
Yeah,
but it
It doesn't really matter.
It doesn't. Yeah, it's like it does. Like he's aware, but he doesn't care. Like they say, there's so much in here that's just said that doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
there's a lot. This film is filled with empty dialogue. That's what it is. It's just empty dialogue.
What a mess. But yeah, after Tam dies, Mina becomes the lead engineer of the group. They come up with a new plan to turn off the oxygen pumps and then use the Shepherd, then turn the oxygen back on after.
Yeah,
they've come back to the original Earth.
Yeah, but
then
they
also
also
make a deal with Mina to give her all the files on the Shepherd so that she can recreate it in her world properly.
Ava says she's going to go down there. They establish that like they can't even have a spark go off because if they do, everything will blow up.
Yeah.
They start the process. Mina turns into a villain.
Mundy dies at some point. I don't even. Oh, he gets killed by magnetism.
No, the living metal like grabs him like the Venom symbiote and like chokes him out.
It's kind of dumb.
It's really dumb, and then an explosion happens, and then he really dies.
Yeah, so it's dumb. I genuinely don't have anything of substance to say other than it was dumb when it comes to
it was so dumb.
Like it genuinely just does not even need like any further explanation.
Yeah. And honestly, I'll just say this, Mundy was my favorite character because I felt like the actor was actually trying to like put in some emotion. It's not like he's the most emotive character in the film, but like I think he tried to deliver. I thought he tried to deliver every line like he was actually meaning it, while the others just kind of seemed to be there.
I don't know, everyone else is just kind of like giving whatever performances. It's not even like anyone's doing anything particularly bad. It's just like,
it's just whatever. Yeah.
No one's really a standout here.
And then this is where the space station is like split into two, but they also are like, because of now the splitness, like the space station's rotating too much. It's going too fast.
So the captain ends up sacrificing himself because apparently he has to do it.
Couldn't they have just blown up the center and just like, I don't get like.
I mean, also the Ava says that they can do it remotely. I mean, the captain does say he has to be the one to do it, but he doesn't explain why. So it's like,
it's also kind of it seemingly is established that he knows that before they do it. So like, it's not a last minute decision. Like he just knows that. And then he just does it.
Regardless, it was a very hollow scene.
It was. And right before it, they also try to like set up like the tightrope, walking through the destroyed section, which really comes across as flat as well. I mean,
there's really no actual tension in the film.
No, there's not. And then like he gives Hamilton the like, you have to stay and do it now. But she still makes the decision to go to Earth, which this is where they have the whole, like, Mina turns into the villain and whatnot because she, like, knocks her out. Jensen goes and gets the gun and shoots Monk. Monk just dies. And then she shoots.
I liked how he was the only character called not by the name on his...
Yeah.
That made me wonder if his name was just changed in post.
Well, his name was Monk, like his first name.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, but...
I thought it was just a nickname.
Yeah, well, it's weird. So Monk is his first name. Schmidt is Schmidt's last name. Mundy and Volkov and Tam and Jensen and whatnot.
I thought they were all like their last names.
Yeah.
Either last names or nicknames, but then I thought it was weird that, Mundy is just... Or not Mundy. Monk is... the only one being called by a separate name.
Well, Monk is the only one that's... Monk and Ava are referred to by a first name basis for some reason. And then the captain, Keel, is just called Keel. Like, he doesn't have
Ava's
another
only
name.
really called by a first name by Mina, to be fair.
Oh, that's right. That's true. Yeah, so
Everyone
literally...
else Hamilton.
Monk is the only one referred to by his first name, and then Keel just doesn't have another name. So we don't know if that's his first or last name. It's
I mean,
not
it would be his
consistent.
last name given it's on his...
Oh, that's true. But he has no first name.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like not a huge deal. It just seemed weird to have Monk be the only character.
Yeah,
Called
I agree.
something else. It makes sense as a nickname, but it almost just screamed like ADR changed the character's name or something.
Maybe.
I don't know if it actually was. That's just how it came across.
It could have been that.
But yeah, on Earth, Joe, random guy we never meet outside of voice cameos, reaches the parents of the girl who we haven't even mentioned that Michael saves a girl.
I think I mentioned it once. It happens. I don't really know.
They reach her parents. They're happy. No real conclusion.
No, it doesn't really matter.
Why did I even bother bringing it up, honestly?
I don't know. It really doesn't. Like, you could literally cut her, and it doesn't really matter. Actually, no, she says that it's bad to text and drive. That's the meaning of the movie. Do not text and drive, despite the fact it has no repercussions.
I love how the last few Kaiju Conversation episodes have really been putting me to the test here with amazing screenplays.
Truly remarkable screenplays, as good as perhaps
Don't say Alien Romulus.
Deadpool and Wolverine.
Oh god damn it.
But so Schmidt gets shot, but he doesn't. He gets shot twice.
Yeah, I thought he was dead.
I don't know why. I thought they were going to pull a Ripley, but then he survives.
Yeah.
Jensen gets xenomorphed. There's a lot of alien talk in this episode.
Oh yeah. She does get blown out the airlock, doesn't she? Or blown out the
window,
the space. Yeah.
Yeah. Though they don't do it like they did the newborn. I was kind of hoping they would.
Oh, that'd be funny.
It would have been hilarious.
Just a ridiculously brutal death for this random lady. That's just kind of a villain for no reason. Like, I mean, they give her a bit of motivation, but it's kind of...
It's dubious at best.
I don't know. It makes enough sense. It just feels a little forced.
A little?
A little.
Just a little.
You
Whatever.
never say that again.
God, it's so bad.
And then this is a groundbreaking screenplay.
And then Ava helps save Schmidt or something. She sends off
she helps him. They get the thingy McBobby, the shepherd, working.
She sends
they did that before, didn't they?
But they finalize it, and then she sends off the video message to the other Ava, and then they use the shepherd, and then it works. Miraculously, it works.
Yeah. It's all happy days. They reach contact with probably NASA, I'd imagine.
Probably, yeah, they go back. And then they go back, and then we cut back to Michael, and they're telling him that they reached him. And then he's like, why did you don't let them come back? And
Tell them to go back. Tell them not to come back.
And they're like, it's too late. We couldn't stop them. It's like, dude, there was so much dead space that you could have been like, do not come back. Do not come.
It also, just... I get they didn't have a lot of time to explain things, but just explain a little. Hey, there are monsters here, by the way. Sorry, guys.
Mm-hmm. And you would have thought they would have been it's been chaos down here. There are monsters.
They'd at least be slightly told something.
It's almost like that scene at the end wasn't supposed to be in the movie. That's a very obvious moment where it should not have been there.
I mean, the thing is, I feel like that moment actually is the one Cloverfield connection that actually should kind of be there, because it works as it could have worked as that sort of dramatic bad ending twist, if it was played as a twist.
But it's not played as a twist, because we already know it literally is all set up to be that.
And then Cloverfield shows up.
and roars,
Pants, yeah.
and then the credits start.
Yeah.
I feel like we really blew through that.
Is there really a lot to say on this film?
There's really not. It's a pretty not good movie.
It's a pretty whatever sci-fi movie with the Mr. Grumpy Pants not even like every now and again, just like you get one barely appearance by him, and then at the end you get 5 seconds of him.
Mm-hmm. Are we ready to go into final thoughts? Do you have anything else you want to add before final thoughts?
No.
Oh, we never talked about our experiences with the film prior to
I've
this.
never seen it before. This is my first watch.
I was there. I was watching that Super Bowl when the first trailer happened, and then I saw the second trailer.
I'm not American, so.
And then I watched it that night. I remember liking it. I don't like it anymore. I don't even remember like being like, "Oh, this is a good movie." I remember just being like, "Oh, okay, that wasn't bad." But now it's like, "Oh yeah, that was bad. That's not good."
See, for me, it's like I don't even think this is like it's kind of just like a nothing movie to me. Watching it,
it's the Godzilla versus Kong of the Cloververse.
Not even that. It's just like
it's the GXK of the Cloververse.
Nothing interesting happens really, except for Mr. Grumpy Pants shows up. There's outside of him just making his comeback for the first time in like 10 years.
Yeah.
It's like nothing else about this movie is really interesting or stands out from like any other sci-fi thriller, sci-fi horror movie.
It's the birdemic of the Monsterverse.
It is. Your forced jokes don't encapsulate how lame of a movie this actually just is.
It's a forced joke of the Cloververse.
Like, shut up. like, I don't even hate this movie. I just don't have strong feelings about it. Like, when watching it, I noticed like issues with the writing, but they didn't offend me. I didn't.
Yeah, it's not
take offense from it.
It's not an atrocity.
It doesn't do anything really that good either. So it's like, is it awful? Not necessarily, but it's not good.
Right. I think
it's
the thing about it,
a nothing burger of a film outside of 5 seconds of the monster.
Yeah, I think the thing about it is everything in the Cloverfield paradox we have seen before. We've seen giant monsters. We've seen bunkers. We've seen high concept science fiction. We've seen alternate reality stuff. We've seen, alternate dimensions colliding.
This film isn't even high concept. Like the spec script has the title of the God Particle, which is a real concept in physics. Like the God Particle is like, it's the thing that's the reason why we have mass. But it's like, the film, I don't know if the original script had the God Particle was actually like just a proper element of it, or if that was cut out when it was turned into a Cloverfield movie or what. But it's like this film really isn't even high concept.
But everything in it we have seen before, and it's been better. But we've also probably seen stuff that's worse than this, right? It ends up being this film that's like, okay, we've seen this before. It's not really breaking ground. It doesn't really have potential, so it doesn't really come back and, slap you in the face. It's just like, okay, this film is consistently mediocre throughout the film.
Right.
From the visuals to the script to the characters to the cinematography, lighting, and set design, everything in the film is mediocre.
Right. The most I can compliment is there's a couple actors who I've seen be good in other movies.
Yeah, it's like, oh, Daniel Bruhl, that's cool. Oh, JJ did this film. That's cool.
Yeah, Simon Pegg.
Oh, it's Cloverfield.
Cameo. That's cool.
Oh, it's Simon Pegg. That's cool. Hey, it's Slusho. That's cool.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Takarato. That's cool. Is that a monkey?
What a
No,
lame
it's not a
movie.
monkey. That's not cool.
So that's the Cloverfield paradox. It was so lame we didn't even reach the 3-hour mark.
Not yet.
Well, the final recording won't be 3 hours.
That's true. I don't think there is a way it'll hit 3 hours. But yeah, no.
So maybe that's the one silver lining here.
It's kind of sad because, like, you could turn a script into a good Cloverfield movie, as seen in the 10 Cloverfield Lane. But this is an example of what happens when you have people who aren't really sure of what they're doing working on a film, when the one guy that's supposed to know what he's doing is off gallivanting across the galaxy with Disney.
Mm.
It just
leaves the Cloverfield franchise where it, like, without any further continuations or films having come out now, this anthology series just ends on a weird whimper that just decided to bring back the monster for some reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
brand recognition.
The thing about this movie is I think this solidifies, like, we don't even hear talk about 10 Cloverfield Lane anymore. And that's a pretty good psychological thriller.
It's like, if you're going to go with the anthology aspect, just commit to it. Mm-hmm. Have these stories be unconnected, or have the connections between this film and the original and 10 Cloverfield Lane really, like, intersect more with each other, rather than just doing this haphazard excuse to give the monster a cameo.
Right. This film really does a good job at just making Cloverfield one of those, like, oh yeah, it happened. Remember that? Yeah, that was a thing. They don't.
We got Cloverfield and it was cool. Remember when they did something different with 10 Cloverfield Lane and it was also cool?
I don't think it helps that this film was also dumped on Netflix. It was the first Netflix film to get a DVD Blu-ray release, however. That's kind of cool.
That is good. What anime trilogy English Blu-ray when? Singular?
Probably never.
English Blu-ray. Wow.
So that's pretty much it on my end. I think we just got cast crew, the rankings, and then our sign-offs. Well, with your crew, you've got Julius Onah as the director. His only other credit really to mention is he's directing the upcoming Captain America Brave New World movie. That has undergone... Which is going
to be very good. So good.
Yeah.
Man, is this the second movie he's done that has had its budget ballooning?
Probably. He's only directed like 4 things.
I would say, how did he get Captain America? But actually, that makes MCU sense. Directors.
Yeah.
That's all MCU directors.
Yeah, people who will just listen to Feige and Disney and do whatever they say. But it sounds like the film had to undergo major reshoots too, so maybe he's got a track record going.
A rather unfortunate one.
Doug Jung did the Coast story along with the previous writer. He worked on Star Trek Beyond. J.J. Abrams as producer was on Cloverfield, 10 Cloverfield Lane, Star Trek Beyond, Overlord, Star Wars The Last Jedi as an executive producer. He also was director of Star Trek, Super 8, Star Trek Into Darkness, Star Wars The Force Awakens, Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. He also worked on the television series Lost. Lindsay Weber was a producer. She worked on 10 Cloverfield Lane, Star Trek Beyond, Overlord, and is working on the upcoming live-action adaptation of Your Name. Bear McCreary, your composer, worked on Battlestar Galactica, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., 10 Cloverfield Lane, Godzilla King of the Monsters, Europa Report, Colossal, The Last Voyage of the Demeter, and Terminator, The Sarah Connor Chronicles. Your cast includes Gugu Mbatha-Raw, who played Ava Hamilton, who was in Jupiter Ascending, as Elizabeth Debicki, as Mina Jensen, was in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Valerian in the City of a Thousand Planets, Tenet, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and Maxine. Asked Henning, who played Volkov, was in The Martian. Daniel Bruhl, who played Ernest Schmidt, was in Captain America The Civil War, and The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Chris O'Dowd played Mundy, was in Gulliver's Travels, Monsters vs. Aliens, the TV show, an episode of the reboot of The Twilight Zone, and Thor the Dark World. Jean Ortez, who played Monk Acosta, was in Aliens vs. Predator Requiem.
Oh, damn.
He was the sheriff, by the way.
Oh, that guy.
Also, he was in Kong Skull Island as one of the Landsat workers, the guy with the mustache that got his arm ripped off.
Yeah. Oh, I never knew that was the same actor in Skull.
Yep.
That's funny.
He was in Bumblebee and Ad Astra. Astra. David Oyelowo, who played Keel, was in A Sound of Thunder, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Interstellar, and Star Wars Rebels. And Xia Xing, who played Tam, was in The Legend of Zoo and Godzilla King of the Monsters. We already mentioned Simon Pegg from the Star Trek remakes, but Susan Cryer, who was the lady in 10 Cloverfield Lane, also made a cameo as a newscaster in the film.
Wait, who did she play in 10 Cloverfield Lane?
She played the neighbor lady.
The one that dies?
Yes.
That, gets killed outside?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I vaguely remember.
Speaking of 10 Cloverfield Lane, I think it's time for our rankings. And I think we're going to end up agreeing 100% on our final Cloverfield rankings.
Yeah. Number 3.
The Cloverfield Paradox.
Correct.
At number 2.
10 Cloverfield Lane.
No, I have Cloverfield.
Well, hey, both are good movies in different ways.
So your number 1 is Cloverfield?
Cloverfield, yes.
Mine's 10 Cloverfield Lane.
I mean, I would like to rewatch 10 Cloverfield Lane. I think I'd probably appreciate it more on a rewatch.
Maybe. Maybe. Yeah.
I think I was a little tired for it when I watched it originally, so...
Yeah, I think 10 Cloverfield Lane is such a well-made movie. Whereas, I think Cloverfield...
Trachtenberg is just a solid director.
Yeah. I think that's really what it comes down to, is he's just a solid director.
Not that Matt Reeves is a bad director, mind you.
No. But I think Cloverfield has such a good concept, but it's also kind of a novelty. If you're into that, you'll love it. It's
definitely one of those movies where it's like you can't just do that again in that format. At least I don't feel like it would work to just do Cloverfield again in found footage. Completely.
It wouldn't. I don't think it'd work.
It's really one of those things where that whole deal, especially with the marketing, that only works once, and that works specifically at the time it came out too.
Wholeheartedly agree there.
So yeah, and that was the Cloverfield franchise.
Rest in peace until Cloverfield 2.4.
If that happens.
If it happens. But I do have one last thing to say, Rex.
Maybe it'll get dropped just out of the blue when we release this episode. Who knows? Maybe
we'll will it into existence.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I guess that's really all there is to say.
Actually, I got something to say.
Oh.
I gotta say hello. I'm Elijah, and I have a Kaiju and Tokusatsu problem. Joking aside, I am Elijah Thomas. I am a writer. I've written for GodzillaMovies.com, Kaiju Roman Magazine, and Kaiju United, of which I'm the Chief Innovative Officer for. And my writing has also been featured in the book Giant Bug Cinema, a Monster Kid's Guide from Bear Manor Media, where I wrote about Ghidorah, the Threaded Monster. Outside of writing and podcasting, I also served as a consultant for the upcoming Titanic Creations officially licensed Yonguri articulated figure. Go to titaniccreations.com/Yonguri to order yours today. I've also had the privilege to produce bonus features for SRS Cinema. I have worked on Yuzo, The Biggest Battle in Tokyo, Liverleaf, and War of the Ninja Monsters, Geron vs. Gora. You can order these Blu-rays on srscinema.com. I'm also a filmmaker and YouTuber. You can check out my stuff on my YouTube channel, ET13 Productions, where you can see some of my short films and older YouTube videos, along with an ever-growing playlist that features all of my appearances on YouTube. I did actually just upload my 2021 short film, The Invisible Teacher, a student short film I made in high school, to my YouTube channel. So now that marks, I think, four 4 short films that are on there. I got 2 more I can drop on there, and I got one I got to finish that I shot a couple years ago. But they are slowly starting to trickle out, so definitely check those out. You can also check out my action figure photography on my Instagram at et13_productions and my X, the artist formerly known as Twitter. Thanks, Danny, at the same handle. Rex, where can people find you at?
Well, dear listeners, you can find me on YouTube at RexXeno, on Twitter at Rex_Xenomorph, and on Instagram, Rex_Xeno. And if you want to check out some of my writing, go take a look at the Tokusatsu Network.
And as for the podcast, don't forget to rate us on iTunes. That boosts our ratings and helps us get recommended to more people just like you. If you don't have an Apple device, which I don't blame you, I don't. That's actually a lie. I'm literally rating this off of a MacBook. But you can rate us on Spotify. To stay up to date with all things Kaiju Conversation related, head over to www.kaijuconversation.com to find all of our episodes, social media, news, and updates, along with a new section to the website, Upcoming Kaiju Films, that covers all of the upcoming confirmed and rumored Kaiju films that are available to be acknowledged. Follow us on Twitter at KAIJU_CONVERS. If you don't have Twitter, you can follow us on Instagram or like us on Facebook. If you're like me before podcasting and you don't have any social media, lucky you. You can email us at kaijuconversation@gmail.com, all lowercase, all one word, you know the drill. And as always, we'll read your reviews on air for everyone to hear. We also have a Teespring store. Eventually, we're going to have original artwork on there, but until then, you can sport our awesome logo on a t-shirt and maybe even a coffee mug. If you'd like to chat with us, check out our Discord server full of others that have similar interests to you. Recently, there is a discussion about Bandai and Tsuburaya, based off of the recent announcements of Bandai and Toho. People have been talking about Bandai and Tsuburaya in that relationship. It's a great community full of great people. Don't forget to subscribe to YouTube channel and hit the bell so you can be notified anytime we upload a video. We sometimes post exclusives to the channel, like bloopers for episodes or minisodes talking about news or other subjects. We also have an interview with MechaGodzilla designer Jared Krichevsky on the channel, and I definitely butchered his name. I'm so sorry for that. And a huge thanks to Rex for editing all of these episodes and all the other content we upload. His links can be found in the description below. Along with Rex, we'd like to give a huge thanks and shout out to Danny DiManna of the Godzilla Novelization Project for his amazing vocals on our theme song. You can support him by following him on Twitter at Danzilla93_GNP or visit his website, GodzillaNovelizationProject.com. And a huge thanks to Grattan Conwell from the podcast Giant Monster BS for composing the music for our theme song. You can support him by following the podcast on Twitter at Giant Monster BS or on any podcast platform under the name Giant Monster BS. And with that, we're going to wrap things up here. Cloverfield is officially done. You can now go back, ignore the first 2 Cloverfield episodes that we did before. The ones that are labeled old, just ignore those.
Ignore any old episode, honestly.
Ignore them. They don't exist. They're just
not
there.
real.
So
they can't hurt you.
Yeah, they're just there so we can keep the episode count. But check out our other ones. The ones with like nice thumbnails, like nice.
Maybe we shouldn't have kept the episode count, so then we wouldn't have had to do Zillafoot so soon.
Maybe. But again, thank you guys so much. If you want to check out those other episodes, great discussions talking about it and about the same runtime overall. So thank you all for listening. And as always, please remember, life's too short to not talk big. Bye, guys.
Bye.
We are set, we are in debt. There's nothing to sweat. Life's too short now, baby. And not too big now, baby. Conversation. His name's Elijah, baby. And also Rex now, baby. We love those kaiju, baby. And you will too now.